Jeff, I appreciate you doing this. I've been following your work for a little while now, actually, and just kind of been circling around it. But I saw you on a podcast the other day, and I was like, I really need to talk to this guy. But I realized actually that until that podcast, I didn't really know much about your backstory.
Okay.
And so, can you kind of go into that?
Yeah, would love to. And thanks for having me, Clay. I do appreciate it. So I wear a pink wristband on my right forearm, and I like to say that that's kind of where my journey starts. Spark number one. Unfortunately, I lost my mom to breast cancer a little over 11 years ago. I like to say the fragility of life 2x4 smacked me upside the head. You know, when the woman that brought you into this world takes her last breath in front of you, man, it just crystallizes how important life is and how we get one trip and what are we going to do in that gift that we've been given. So I really started to do some deep thinking, like what impact am I having? What kind of dent do I want to make in the universe? And I still, Clay, remember the last deep conversation I had with my late mother. She was about ready to go on hospice care. I was taking her to a radiation treatment. So we kind of knew we were making that last turn, right? The end was coming. And I asked her how she was doing. And she told me she was scared she'd be forgotten. And that was something that, Clay, I didn't know in the moment, but I definitely connected the dots looking back. I told her, hey, her positivity and her hope's going to live through me. I'm going to pass it down to her two grandsons, my two boys. And I think subconsciously there was a baton pass between her and me that I don't want to get to my end of days and think I'm going to be forgotten, that I haven't made a significant impact to, my family legacy, my boys, my grandkids, society in general. So that was kind of spark one. A couple years later, I ended up being forced out of corporate America, opened up my own gym, did that for about 3.5 years, did it during COVID, which was an interesting time to be a gym owner. Let's put it that way. And then really got into mental toughness, mindset, peak performance, because I was still doing the things, Clay, that I was doing in my late teens, 20s, and 30s, whether it was alcohol, porn, gambling, social media. I call them kryptonite dusts. They don't kill us in the moment, but they definitely weaken our strength as a husband, as a dad, as a leader, and as a man. And I still remember in my gym days, I always told my wife, if I party, I'm not going to let it impact me waking up with my boys in the morning or going to work. And I played cards, drinking with the buddies in the neighborhood till 2 a.m. on a Friday night. Woke up, went to kiss her before an 8 a.m. fitness class. And she said, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. She said, how are you going to go teach about health and wellness? And you reek of alcohol. And I was like, mirror moment, truth bomb, thrown my way. And I needed to hear it. So I started to, uncover things like, is this truly the path I want to take? So that was another spark. And then really spark three, I shut down the gym, moved into mental toughness, peak performance coaching. And I was searching for who can I help and guide. I figured out some systems, playing with consistent energy. I gave up alcohol. And I've got a buddy who runs ultra marathons. He had a training partner, dad of 3, going through a challenging time. He said, you know what? You should connect with Jeff. He's got some positivity. He's got energy. He's got fire. He's got some things figured out. And we didn't press the issue. And unfortunately, the dad ended up taking his own life, committing suicide. And that was spark really number 3, where I still remember Clay standing there in my office telling my wife his dad's. And she's like, holy crap. You love being a dad more than anything. That's your lane. And that's when I founded the Warrior Dad a little over 3 years ago. And now got a big, hairy, audacious goal, 1 million dads by January 1st, 2053. And I just eat, sleep, and breathe. How do I get a little bit better today than I was yesterday? How do I share that wisdom with my wife and 2 sons who are 17 and 15, juniors and sophomores in high school? And then how do I share it to the dads that choose to step off the common path and be uncommon and want to change their family tree forever? So that's a little quick arc and backstory. It was a little bit longer probably than you wanted, but wanted to give you that full context.
I know that's good, and that leaves a lot to talk about. So I appreciate that. Circling back around to your mom, do you think that inspired you so that she would be remembered, or did it awaken sort of that same fear in you, and that's kind of what pushed you?
I mean, probably both, right? I think I definitely keep her in mind. And I was watching something the other day. There's a new documentary on the boys of the 80 hockey team. It's called Miracle, the boys of 80. And Jim Craig, the goalie of that team, had just lost his mother right around the time that they were playing. And he said something pretty profound that I hadn't heard before. And he says, when somebody passes, the great thing about it is they pass their power to somebody else. And I said, I got goosebumps. I'm like, holy crap, my mom passed her power to me. And so I definitely use that. I would also say yes to your point. I've told a story on podcasts before of like hell on earth, where you're on your deathbed, somebody walks in the room, and you're like, who the heck is this person that just walked into the room? You're going through the mental Rolodex. You're trying to place, who did I meet him somewhere? Who? And he walks over to the side of the bed and he whispers, he bends down, whispers into your ear, and he says, I'm who you should have been. And that's the potential we all have inside. So yes, I would say both honoring her, I want to keep her legacy alive, but also I want to empty out the tank in life and make sure that when that guy walks in the room, I'm like, what's up, brother? He's like, hey, you did it. Right. So those are probably both great question, but both of them.
Did you have, like, a lot of times people think, for instance, you said emptying out the tank. A lot of people don't realize that they aren't doing that kind of until they have some moment like that. So I guess my question is, did you think that you were living like the right way before that, or was it obvious and you just hadn't faced it yet?
I don't think I was looking in the mirror and asking myself those difficult questions. And I think society, media, overall just programs you kind of in this lane. And I was just going with that common herd but I will tell you, I consistently had an itch on the back of my neck that I could do more, be more, have more. It was a voice that called out to me. I numbed it with all those vices, tried to run from it. And it wasn't until I answered that call did I finally understand that I wasn't emptying the tank on a daily basis, that I was playing, half in, half out. And it was no wonder why I was getting half-ass results in my life everywhere. So it really caused me to reflect and be honest with myself. And I think until we're honest with ourselves, you don't have a foundation or a footing to kind of leap off of. You're kind of in quicksand, and you're just trying to keep your head above, the sand or treading water in life. So having those honest conversations of like, truly, am I emptying the tank and doing that on a daily basis? I think her passing caused me to have those mirror moments and those truthful conversations and come back. And the answer wasn't very good, right? It was a humbling moment. And especially when my wife called out the alcohol, and just thinking about the example I'm setting for my two boys, it was difficult pill to swallow, but it was one that I needed to. And looking back, I'm so glad that I did.
Right. I think there's enough like noise and enough programming as you grow up that there's a lot of excuses, like you said, to ignore that itch on the back of your neck. Uh, and I think it's increasingly, like, used to, it was a lot easier to see a guy that's not living up to his potential, but now there's so many avenues to fake it
Mm-hmm.
that I think it's harder to see in yourself that a moment like you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the easy path is being mediocre, average, and just kind of getting by and going through life. And at some point, unfortunately, I would say the majority of people and men, dads, husbands, leaders, they give up. And they're just like, this is just the way life is, where it's not. You can change, and you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There is no staying the same. And if you take the lens of like more is caught than taught in parenting, what are your kids watching if you're just punting and complaining about work and just not growing at all? That's going to be their life that they repeat because they saw you doing it.
Yes. And so, one thing I want to talk about, I caught on that podcast I was referring to that I heard you on and was really wanted to get you on. You talked about some things that really derail men, and you talked about ego, and you talked about vice. And I
Mhm.
felt like those are pretty self-explanatory, but I really liked you talking about, commonly held beliefs. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that really can derail men and reaching their potential?
Yeah, it's kind of those things that you heard growing up from your parents or from friends, and it just got into your subconscious mind as like this is just the way it is. And a couple of those that I love to point out is like you can't have it all. Well, who says you can't have it all? Right? I mean, somebody that doesn't have it all and kind of gave up is ran with that narrative, and then other people picked it up because they didn't want to put in the hard work. They didn't want to uncover what might be stopping them. Didn't want to fulfill their potential. So that's one. I say BS to that. You can, but you got to be focused. You got to be energetic. You got to empty out the bucket on a daily basis. You got to surround yourself with positive, energetic, driven people. So that's one. Another one is just wait till your kids are teenagers. I mean, I heard that when my boys were young all the time. Oh, just wait till they're teenagers. They won't want to have anything to do with you. Again, BS. My boys still ask me to do things at 17 and 15. I mean, we are close, hug each other, say we love each other when they're leaving or I'm leaving the house. We all find each other and do that. So you can change that false narrative by being the best version of yourself. And it's easy to go the route of, well, that's just the way it is because everybody says it. And there is a common herd, Clay, of people, the majority of people that are just walking through life as walking zombies. They're just going through the motions. And unfortunately, they're going to get to their deathbed and they're going to feel like they didn't, they're going to be filled with regret. I mean, that's the number one thing people share on their deathbed is regret. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't take the shot. I didn't take the chance. So I like to question everything. And one of my statements that I make to my boys and to the dads that I coach is the more I know, the less I know. I'm humble enough to know that I don't know it all. And I'm never going to be a perfect person, but I'm going to continue to stay on my toes and attack. So, not able to have, you can't have it all, or wait till your kids are teenagers, or like, hey, I'm getting old, so I need to slow down. I just turned 50 in last April. I mean, I'm in the best shape of my life. Why? Because I work hard at it. I do it daily. I eat right. I sleep right. And I'm on the attack. I'm on my toes, attacking life versus playing defense.
So was there a commonly held belief that you had that was holding you back before the warrior dad took off?
There was. And ironically, it was from my mother. So I am the oldest of three. I got a younger brother, 3 years younger, younger sister, 6 years younger. And when my sister was born, I was 6, my brother was 3. And my parents went from man-to-man defense to zone defense with 3. And my mom always wanted a baby girl. So when she was born, a lot of the attention went to her. My brother and I needed to show my mom what we were doing to get attention. My belief was I wasn't worthy of her love. So I had self-worth issues all through my teens, my 20s, 30s, until, I hired a coach in my early 40s to unpack it. And my brother and I kind of connected the dots as well, because I used to tell my wife when I did the dishes when we were first married, hey, I did the dishes. And she'd be like, what do you want, a cookie? And then I told my brother the same thing. And he goes, holy crap, Jeff, I'd say the same thing to my wife. And we connected the dots that we used to show my mom what we did to get her attention. And my 6-year-old brain said, well, she doesn't love me. I'm not worthy of my mom's love. So that was that hidden behind the scenes break on the race car of life that I was trying to slam the gas pedal down. And one of the greatest things was transforming that harsh inner critic of self-worth issues to becoming that biggest cheerleader and feeding the positive wolf. And I've got this. And there's only going to be one me that ever walks this earth. So why not step forward? Why not be that best version of myself? So, and that's a common one. And typically, Clay, kids form those 1 or 2, maybe max limiting beliefs from 4 to 7 years old. So something happens in their life. They interpret it with a 4 to 7-year-old brain, and then it becomes that break that plays behind the scenes. So it's very important to uncover that and then do some deep work to let go of that break that's just holding you back and be able to go fast and slam that gas pedal down on life.
Were you this positive when you were in the corporate world and when you owned a gym and all that?
I started when I was on the gym, but here's a funny story that everybody just laughs at. Senior year, graduated in high school. Back then, I don't know if they do it now, but you had senior superlatives, right? Everybody gets different things. I, on the male side, I was voted biggest complainer. And then I went to college. I had a couple of fraternity brothers who got into my programs a couple of years ago. And one of them said, in college, Jeff was kind of a Debbie Downer. So I definitely wasn't. I really think the catalyst was my mom passing, transforming her pain into purpose, knowing that every day we get standing upright is truly a gift. And you should be grateful for that gift. And that feeds my positivity. And it's easy to be negative, but I will tell you, life is so much better when you're playing with a smile, you're playing with positive energy, you're giving it to folks, and it lights you up, and you can have such a profound impact on others when you become that beacon of hope, positivity, that attitude that's infectious. I mean, people want to be around those type of people, and you can change one person's life through an interaction or a conversation. So no, I have not always been this positive person, but definitely, now that's the old version of me, old Jeff, that my wife and I like to talk about. New Jeff, yeah, he's a positive, energetic force. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have days where something happens and I get knocked off kilter. And I like to coach the dads and tell my boys that out of a month, Clay, you're going to have 3 or 4 days you're just not at your best. We're not cyborg robots. We're not computer programs. So when you have one of those 3 or 4 days you're not at your best, hey, maybe you're at 30 or 40%. At least play 100% of that 30 or 100% of that 40%. And then what I like to say is, when you have a dip day like that, the next day, bounce off the dip. Don't stay in the dip. Use it as a catalyst to say, all right, I'm going back even harder tomorrow. And then you continue that spiral of growth up.
That's I hadn't heard you tell that story about the Debbie Downer, biggest complainer story. I hadn't heard that. I like that.
Yeah, people are pretty surprised when they when they hear that.
Yes, I've got a friend that's really positive, but he was positive when he was 15 years old. So I mean, he was a lifelong positive person. So, and it's worked for him. So yeah, that's positivity. Really, if you can look at the world like that, it really pays off, I think, and people get energized by it.
Here's the other thing: you want to live longer? Positive people having an optimistic attitude. I think it's either 7 or 8 years you live longer than a pessimistic person. So you want to add 7, 8 years to your life? Be positive, be optimistic. I mean, that's a game changer there.
Let's talk about a little bit about old Jeff. You were in the corporate world, and at some point you weren't any longer. What was that change like? Like how did your wife like that change? That's really what I'm trying to ask.
It was a challenge. So I'd worked in corporate America, and I had worked virtual for many years. We live outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. After my mom passed, my boys were like 7 and 5. And I was asked to relocate into an office in New York City or Phoenix, Arizona. My guys were playing sports. I got roots here. My sister's 25 minutes away. My brother's 40 minutes away. My dad's 10 minutes away. Wasn't happening. So I tried to process what was I going to do next. And I had that voice calling out, you can do something on your own. So I took my wife out to, can you curse on this podcast, by the way?
Oh yeah.
All right. So I went out to dinner with my wife, and I told her I was going to open up a gym. And she said, you're going to fucking do what? And I built a business plan and I did it. But you know what? That was a colossal failure, right? 3.5 years, ended up not doing the things because I wasn't the person that was able to sustain that growth and be on my toes. I'd have a great day at the gym or 2 days of selling services, and Clay, I'd take 3 weeks of not doing anything. Right. So I was in that same pattern. And then, through COVID, actually before COVID, the gym wasn't doing well. I chose the easy way out and tried to gamble my way back. And next thing you know, ended up $100,000 in debt, $100K out of my retirement fund, and near bankruptcy. So she was supportive, but then, I kind of did some shit that I shouldn't have done. And, there were times where I was in the guest room and wondering if we were going to make it as a family, or what we were going to. It was a challenging time. Let's just put it that way. So entrepreneurial, that journey, you see a lot of highlight reels on social. I mean, it is a battle day in, day out. And it took me really 6 years to get my footing. Luckily, my wife's a teacher; she has benefits. But one day my oldest was like, "I want to do what you do. You're speaking, you're coaching." I said, "Son, just so you know, this took me 6 years to finally get growth. Mom was the breadwinner; she had the benefits, right? All these things." So, but I will tell you, I've been. She asked me at one point, Clay. She said it's been like 5.5, 6 years. It's time. You need to get a part-time gig. And I was out in my kitchen with my old Dell laptop. The battery was dead, so I had to have it plugged in. And I got on Indeed. Well, the power cord wasn't in fully, and it went dead. And I took it as a sign. I said, I'm never fucking going back. And then it was like hair on fire, sprinting towards the lake. I'm building a warrior dad. I'm doing this. And 3 years in, it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if because they say the easiest time to get a job is when you're not looking. So I was wondering if you've got some corporate pull since you made that commitment to warrior dad.
No, I've got once once the laptop went dead, and once I found my lane with the warrior dad, I haven't. I burned the boats. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm making this happen, and wrote a book and podcast and just and the other piece, Clay, making significant impact in a man, a dad, a husband's life where he feels it, his wife feels it, and even more, his kids feel it. And it's just, it fills my cup. And it's why people are like, do you ever take any time off? And I'm like, rarely, because I just love what I do. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't crossed my mind many times that I've been doing this for about a year. And every time I think, man, I really don't want to write something today. I get an email from some guy and he tells me how much what I said meant to him. And I'm like, oh man, just that one email this week is enough, to keep going.
I mean, I keep a folder. I don't know if you do this, but I keep a folder with those emails for when you question it, go to it, read it, and then it'll fill that tank up and be like, all right, I'm back on the attack. I'm going.
Awesome. Talk about you call it bookends, your morning, evening routine, essentially. Talk about that a little bit.
So we can't control the chaos of life. And I mean, we are overwhelmed. We've got chronic levels of depression, obesity, debt, stress, anxiety, like all of those things, because I mean, we in 1 week of our lives right now, we have more inputs coming our way. And inputs are DMs, text messages, phone calls, email, all those things than our ancestors a couple hundred years ago had in their entire lifetime. So it's no wonder why we have all those epic levels of everything that I just mentioned. So how do we take some control back in an otherwise chaotic, uncontrollable world? Well, we can definitely control the bookends. And the bookends, if you think of the bookends, you control the books if you control the bookends. So how do you wind down your day, PM? How do you get a great night's sleep? I mean, sleep is the bridge between despair and hope. It is a bedrock. And Clay, I come from a place of a reformed guy. I used to tell my late mother when she's like, you're burning the candle at both ends. I'm like, Mom, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'd be dead a lot. That's another narrative. I'd be dead a lot sooner, and I got a target age of living. I want to live to 125. So you got to be proactive. Figure out when you're getting off tech, digital sunset in the PM, getting away from food, getting away from water, so your body's ready to do what it needs to do when it sleeps, and that is repair all your cells, your vital organs, clean out all the gunk in your mind, so that you wake up the next day, you're fresh and ready to go. So love to give prescriptive wind down, especially everything we do in the Warrior Dad, Clay. We take the lens of, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to take action on it. But I take action on it to be able to teach my kids. Because our kids are facing those same unprecedented challenges. We got to share these things with them, plant seeds for future growth with them, because it's things that they're not learning in school. And my wife's a school teacher. My sister-in-law is a school teacher. So PM bookend, winding down, getting a great night's sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, stacking wins right away. And you do not hit the snooze button, because that 8 minutes of shitty sleep does nothing for you. And listen, about 5 years ago, I hit the snooze button and I was coaching people to not do it. And I felt like a fraud, Clay, and I was pissed at myself. But I also threw on that white lab coat and I said, I have an iPhone. I said, why is that snooze button the biggest button on our, I'm like, it's literally like they're programming us to hit snooze, say this 8 minutes of crappy sleep is more important than my hopes, dreams, goals that I want to achieve. So I uncovered you can actually turn it off. You can actually eliminate the snooze button, so you just get stop. So I have never hit the snooze button again since that time. And I coach the dads to do that. So listeners, if you're a snooze button hitter, number one, that 8 minutes of sleep is not doing anything for you. It's actually sending signals to your subconscious mind that that sleep is more important than what you want to do in life. And if you're a habitual snooze button hitter, go into your phone, hit edit this, and you can scroll down and turn off the button. Then you have one choice. So AM bookend to start your day, no snooze button, no checking text messages, no distractions. That time is your time alone to stack wins. And I like to tell dads, and what I coach is 1% of your morning. Just give me 1% of your day, really. 14 minutes, 24 seconds. I mean, if you don't have 1% of your day to dedicate to getting better, you're just not going to up-level your life. And you're going to stay stuck in a rut, stuck in the mud. When we wake up, we get 7 wins: water, movement, meditation, declare who you're going to be in your day, connect from a love perspective with your wife and kids, make those daily deposits into the love bank account. That's a game changer for dads. Practice some gratitude and learn something new. Those are the 7 wins we stack in 15 minutes. When you do it one after another, all of a sudden in the morning, it's like you're on fire. That's why I call the protocol the morning fire. It's like you got fire pumping through your veins. I've done it, or a modified version, because perfection is a myth. If you just get 3 in, it still counts. I've done that. I think today was 2,968 straight days. So 8+ years I've done it. And I'm telling you, it's a grounding process. It gets you energized. It gets you focused. It gets you intentional and presence. And when dads adopt that program, the game changes. Because how many are playing defense when they wake up? They're playing on their heels, and defense is exhausting. Playing, my boys play basketball right now. I mean, playing defense, you're in that squat, your quads burn. Life is meant to play on our toes in attack mode, unleash that inner warrior. And by controlling the bookends, you've got some semblance of control. You're doing those things. It's amazing how the ripple effect and the downstream, it impacts every other thing you do. So those are the bookends. That's how you control it. And it's a game changer. And many coaches, authors all say, like, control. You win the morning, you win your day. You win what you do first when you wake up. Jim Quick, I don't know if you know Jim Quick. He wrote the book Limitless, fantastic book. He says the same thing. The most important time of your day is the morning. How you start it changes the game and sets the tone for your day.
Good. Yeah, that I playing defense. Yeah, that's what I feel like I'm doing all morning most of the time. And if I can get up, my goal is to get up at 5:30. But like you say, hit that snooze button, and then all of a sudden, it's it's a defense.
I'll coach you on it, right? I mean, so you hit the snooze button. So is the phone right next to you?
Well, no, I actually took the step of getting an old school clock, instead, because I get the phone out of the room. That's one of the nighttime recommendation, the evening recommendations for sleep. So I got an old fashioned battery powered alarm clock.
But you're hitting the snooze.
Oh,
on
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's right next to you on the nightstand?
Yes.
Okay. Put it in the corner of the room, plug it into a different thing, different outlet. You've got to physically get out of bed. When my alarm is always in the corner of the room, on top of my clothes, you have to physically once you hit the cold, the odds of you going back are slim and none. So that would be my recommendation, because if it's easy, you got to put resistance in the process. James Clear, Atomic Habits. If you got a bad habit of hitting snooze, you got to make it harder to do it. Well, if you're getting up out of bed, going over, And I would even probably put your clothes on top of the alarm clock. So you feel your clothes and you're like, son of a gun, this means that's a signal. I got to get up. Then you hit it. The odds of you climbing back into bed are pretty slim to none.
And you're so right that 8 minutes of sleep with that between that snooze alarm, it's just doesn't do any good at all.
It doesn't.
Um, I've heard you talk about how quickly the time is passing with your children as they grow up. You only get 18 seasons, I think is how you said it. So do you ever feel the tension of time's moving quickly, so I have to be present, but also I have to pack all this stuff in because I want to have all these experiences, and so it sort of almost hurts your presence, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, my guys are 17 and 15. I mean, the stats are by age 12, 75% of your time with your kids is gone. By age 18, 95% of the time with your kids is gone. So I'm towards that other end, and I don't like it particularly, but you can't stop it. So it's what do you choose on a daily basis? I will say packing things in. Years ago, my boys played football, basketball, and baseball. We were considering, I think they were like 7 and 8 at the time or something. And they were considering, my wife said, hey, what do you want to do for the spring season? They want to play baseball. And I asked the boys and they were like, I don't know, And I finally came back and I wrote them a letter and I read it to my wife and boys at dinner. And I said, we're going to take this season off. You're going to be able to eat ice cream until your belly hurts, chase, fireflies outside. We're just going to be a family and do something. And I think mixing those type of things in, and I'm very proactive on doing that. And whether it's playing ping pong downstairs with my youngest son or going to the gym with my oldest, I don't feel the need because I control the bookends. I control my time. I control my calendar. This is my life, nobody else's. So I don't feel that need to pack it in because I am present on a daily basis. And I think if you're not present, you're probably going to feel that need to pack it in because you're over, course correcting for that lack of intentionality and lack of presence. So that's kind of how I speak to it. And controlling the bookends and making daily deposits in that love bank account. So my late mother was probably the biggest Post-it note fan known to world. She had every different color. So one of the things we do daily as stacking our wins is we write notes to our kids and our wives every single day. And it just creates, and we do it because we're just making daily deposits in that love bank account. It's not because we want it back. Does it come back? Yeah, most of the times it does. But imagine that message we're sending to our kids and our wives when every day they get up and there's I put them in envelopes, put it outside their doors. There's a note from their dad or their husband. Maybe it's just, I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for you. I love you. I'm always here to support you. Or it's, a motivational quote or just a little lesson that they can learn and apply. So being that present, intentional dad, I think then it releases that pressure valve of, I need to experience everything. I need to do everything. I need to be in every sport. I need to keep up with the Joneses. No, you don't. So that's how I'll answer that one.
Yeah. It reminds me of, when you go on vacation, like at least I should say with my kids, like, we plan all this stuff. We're gonna go to the beach. We're gonna go to, I live, in Texas. We're gonna go to Houston and go to the NASA and all this sort of stuff. And then we ask the kids afterwards, like, well, what was your favorite part of vacation? It's like the swimming pool.
Yeah. Being
like
together, just doing. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that complex. And sometimes it at home, sometimes I'll remind myself that all my son really wants me to do is sit down beside him while he watches a goofy YouTube video about cooking. It doesn't have to be some amazing thing every time.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I'll provide this value to you and your audience is, and I teach this in the Warrior Dad book and in my programs, this concept of answer every bid. When your kids ask to do something, they are asking for your attention. That is the number one thing you can give from a love perspective to them. So when they ask you, say yes every damn time, especially when you don't feel like it, because, And I had heard this story of a dad through a fellow coach who he had a daughter, and his daughter asked him, "Hey, can we go to see Taylor Swift?" And he hated Taylor Swift. And he said, "No, I will never go to that concert." And the coach said to the dad, you lost. She might never ask you again to do anything because she's interested in it, and you crushed her. So the emails can wait. The social media scrolling can wait. If they ask you, say yes. And then here's the other piece, Clay. Afterwards, make sure you say, "Hey, I love doing that with you, and thank you for asking me." Because then, like I said, then as teenagers, they're going to ask you to do those things. "Hey, Dad, you want to play ping pong?" "Heck yeah, bud." "Dad, you want to go to the gym?" "Heck yeah." "Dad, can we throw the football?" "Heck yeah." Then that creates deep, deep bonds that are just gonna last a lifetime.
So I love that. Yeah. Um, your mom passed away, what, 11 years ago now? Is that what?
Yep,
11 or
little
12?
over 11 years ago. It was late December. Yep, 11 years ago.
And so essentially, she's inspired you to become this different person that your dad gets to see. So does he ever, I'm sure he's noticed this change. Does he ever tell you, your mom would be proud of you?
He has before. My sister, who was closest to my mom, says that for sure. And I've had others. Clay, she was a reading teacher, and I know she's looking down and saying, "You son of a bitch, you published 2 books when I wasn't after I had passed." Because I wouldn't need marketing. I wouldn't even need to market it myself. She would be out there thumping and doing stuff. So I know she's proud of that fact. And it's amazing when you look for signs for things. She used to give lucky pennies to everybody. I'll find one from time to time, or cardinal was her favorite bird, and I'll see it flying and just say, "Hey, Mom, I got you." Right. So he has said that. And the other cool thing is, with me evolving as a human being, a new version of myself into growth, and how do we be the best version? It not only goes down the family tree, Clay, I've also taught my dad things and push him as well. And he's read books and done different things that he's never done before, because that's the impact that one person living and actualizing their potential can have. That's the impact you can have down the tree and up the tree, all over the place. So yeah, he has told me that she'd be proud, and I've heard that from others as well.
That's great. So does your dad count as one of the million men you're trying to help?
I mean, he's got a bracelet and stuff. I would say no, because that's probably an easy one. And I'm gonna blow past that number, but he is. It is a definite and interesting dynamic now that I'm in this growth, because I will share things, and he wants to live as long as he can. He'll be 80 in August, and he still drives a fire truck in the volunteer fire department. And he's done that for 45 years. Right. And he passes the physical fitness test, and he works out with me a couple times a week. And he'll complain, and I'm like, "Are you going to spend all your energy complaining? You're actually going to do it." Right. It's those type of things.
So I can tell that you read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, did you read a lot before all this?
I did not. And literally growing up, my mom is a reading teacher. She was trying to get me to read, and I didn't like it. I was into sports and girls. And unless it was sports and literature, which I read in high school, or had the class in high school and read a little bit, I didn't. Now, I mean, I have multiple books. I have multiple audiobooks I listen to, and I'm encouraging my guys to do it more, because I know success leaves clues and leads breadcrumbs. And you can read a book, and it can absolutely change your life. And I've had dads who have read the Warrior Dad book and reach out to me and jump into my experience, and are just like, "Holy crap, the impact it's having." So there is just such knowledge and wisdom. And I harp on the phones a lot for being a distraction, but I mean, you can listen to audio. I don't listen to the radio really, because I listen to audiobooks or podcasts when I'm driving in my truck or going for a run, because those are times where you can just get ahead of the competition. That's a slight edge that you can just exponentially get better than the majority in life when you're feeding your mind with good positive things and learning, and it's going to keep you fresh and on your toes. And especially as I like to say, the tip of the spear for your family as a dad, as that leader, being able to share things with your kids, they're going to be so much more ahead of the competition. And let's not bullshit about it, Clay. Life is a fight. It's a competition. You got to compete. You got to attack. So why not pay it forward to that next generation?
Even if you don't feel like you're battling other people, you're battling yourself.
Everything's constantly changing. Every cell in your body, everything in the universe is constantly changing. So I like to say you can either, and I learned this from my coach, +1 or -1 the day. There is no staying the same. And if you think about that difference between +1 and -1, the quotient, the difference is 2. You're not getting better. You're falling behind by 2 every day. And that's pretty just, a powerful question to ground and say, man, am I getting +1 or -1 today? Because a lot of people just say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stay the same. You're not staying the same. You're getting worse.
It's funny you're talking about your mom's reading teacher and you didn't read. My mom essentially had, or has, still does, a room of the house that's essentially a library. It's just full of books. I mean, they're literally bookshelves to the ceiling. And I didn't read a book I wasn't forced to read, really until recently. But as part of a job I had 6 or 7 years ago, you had to actually read books and give book reports.
Okay.
And the owner he was really into growth. And so like the first book I read was the Energy Bus.
John Gordon. Yep. Love it. I got it back on the shelf right there. I gave it to my dad. Yep.
And so that was really, really inspired me to start reading. And they're all sort of mindset growth books. And while I was there, I ended up reading 6 or 8 books and reading, I would read books. You're only supposed to read 1 a quarter. I'd be so far ahead. I'd have books written, I had reports written for years I hadn't got to yet.
There you go. Love it.
So I only listen to audiobooks because appreciate you. You're recording the Warrior Dad audiobook, right?
I am. I've got 25 chapters in the book. I'm through chapter 19. So I got a session upcoming this Thursday and then some edits, and we're getting close there. So excited for that for sure.
Yes. I'm excited to read or to listen to that.
There you
go. So speaking of, what book are you reading now?
I have a book about Sam Walton at Walmart that I'm reading. And then I've got on deck The Everything Store, the story of Jeff Bezos. And then after that, I just got a book from Benjamin Hardy. It's The Science of Scaling. So I mix like personal development with entrepreneurship and then into growth and kind of business. Those are kind of the ones I oscillate back and forth on.
Yeah, I always like a good reading list, to go through and see what I would think I would like.
And I will tell you, I'm reading or listening to Titan, the story of John D. Rockefeller on Audible. I mean, you mentioned you're an audiobook guy. I almost didn't get it because it's 35 hours long. Oh. So it is the longest audiobook I've ever done. I've got 21 hours left, so I'm almost halfway there. But, I love Success Leaves Clues, like I said, and being able to listen and hear history and see what other people do. It's only going to build that mindset and spark ideas and curiosity and creativity in your mind.
Where does reading fit in your day? I mean, how long do you read? When do you read?
I read a little bit in the morning as part of my morning fire routine. And then typically at night, I will make sure that I'm reading, got the book out, highlighters. I highlight the heck out of my books and take notes on them. And, that's the other thing I will tell people listening. If you read a book that sucks, stop reading it. Like, you don't need to finish it. And I had a book that I was reading, and the font was just too low, too small. And it was so deep in it. I was just like, I'm not reading this thing. But on the same side, if you read a good book, like The Energy Bus, I've read multiple times, read it multiple times, because you will find new nuggets, gold in that book, because you're in a different place in your life. So those are a couple kind of guiding principles I live by with regards to books.
And yeah, what I like to do is, like I said, if I listen to audiobooks, and if I really like it, I really think it's, high value, I'll order, a used copy from Amazon.
Gotcha.
And then I'll go through, like I said, and kind of read it again now that I kind of skim through it a little more and highlight the parts that are really powerful and meaningful to me. And that way I have it as a reference, essentially.
There you go. Love it.
So what is the first step that you would recommend for a guy who feels kind of stuck in his life now, and maybe kind of at that point that you were at, where that itch in the back of your neck is there and you're ready to make a move?
I would say getting a coach, mentor, getting somebody that's done it or can help solve a challenge that you might have. I mean, Clay, in my now 9 years since leaving corporate America, I mean, I've probably spent north of $80,000-$90,000 on coaches. Now you can try and figure it out on your own, but man, I like to say figuring out on your own is going from LA to New York. And here are your two options. You can figure it out on your own, which is going to be, you're going to be taking a unicycle with no map from LA to New York, see if you can get there. Or if you hire a mentor, coach, or somebody who's done it before, you walk on a private tarmac, get on the private jet, and you're there in 3 hours. So the investment is for speed and a battle tested system. So, could you dabble around and go on YouTube and search things? Yeah, absolutely could. And coaches, mentors could be books as well, right? It doesn't have to be, someone like me. It could be the Word Dad book, whatever it is. But you got to find out and figure out who's been where you are and how they get out of that pit or that rut. And then follow their plan, follow their roadmap, and follow their systems and execute on them and take action. I think too many times, especially now in today's world, Clay, we have so many inputs. We're learning so much. We're librarians of the mind, not warriors of the mind. Librarians of the mind are cataloging everything they learn. Guys come to me because I'm a warrior of the mind. I give them one thing to think about daily, take action on it, and move. And then all of a sudden they figure things out. So that's what I would say. Somebody in a rut, somebody stuck, find somebody to talk to, find somebody that's playing at a different level. I mean, my door is always open. I love having conversations because they'll feel my energy and they'll be like, holy crap, like let's go. And you want to be around people like that, because if you're not, it's going to be a battle to try and get there. Well, Clay, when you come in contact with a positive force, the energy bus, right? You got energy vampires. They'll suck the energy out of you. Walk out of the conversation. You'll be like, I don't want to do anything today. Where on the flip side, if you have a conversation with me, it's like we're busting out of the tunnel like a sports team, ready to take on the world. And it's like, yeah, let's go. So, investing in yourself, investing in coaches, mentors, books, taking action. I mean, that's the way to go.
And there's just something about someone other than, your wife calling your bullshit.
100%.
Yeah. Makes a huge difference when, you don't have that emotional attachment to the person calling your bullshit that really can motivate you.
And I would say, it's true. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Like, why do I coach dads? Because I'm a dad. And I'm experiencing, I'm going through the same shit you guys are going through. And that is another thing of why I think the Warrior Dad is so successful, is because we do it in a brotherhood. We do it in cohorts, classes, and the experience. And Clay, I hear it all the time from dads that, week one, they hear from other dads going through a struggle and they're like, holy shit, I'm not alone. You are not alone. But we have this lone wolf mentality as men that we can, rub some dirt on it and figure it out. There's no self-made man. Everybody has had help. I like to say if I teed up a golf ball here and hit a driver, and I'm a pretty shitty golfer, I'd hit 10 houses in my neighborhood of dads going through the same stuff that you're going through. It's that 6 inches in between our ears that, Clay, you battle, I battle, everybody battles. But getting around others and being in a brotherhood of growth focused dads, it is a recipe for success and growth and being that best version of yourself and really truly leading your family from the front.
Yeah, if there's one like common theme I can tell you from the emails that I get, it's guys that are surprised. They think they're the only ones going through whatever they're going through. And I'm like, I'm like, dude, I can tell you, I got 3 emails from guys, this month talking about what you're going through and essentially saying the same thing. They thought they were the only ones going through it.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote my book, and in the first I share my gambling story about having $30,000 on college football games. And one of my clients read the book, and we had been working together for a year, and he's like, holy shit, I did the same thing. And it's like, what? It's so it is true. We're all battling something. When we can have that vulnerability and we can talk about real shit, just not the weather and how our teams are, the teams are doing, then we actually get great conversations, and we can support each other through true brotherhood, not the ball busting kind of bro code of like, why are you doing that? Or no, it's like, yeah, let's go change the world together. I mean, that's so much more positive and inspiring than the other side.
It's funny, like, in social situations, I am not a particularly comfortable person, but you get this in front of someone talking about, growth and reading and, not the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really comfortable in those conversations. It's just
Gotcha.
like meaningful. That's what I want to have, is a meaningful conversation, not conversations about, whether or not Anthony Davis should have been traded, like,
Yeah. Right. Yep.
So I like that. I think that's what most men crave. They don't want to talk about. I mean, everybody, they want to talk about deep conversations about things going on in their lives.
They do, but that's where ego gets in, because they don't want to admit they don't have all their shit figured out. Well, newsflash, nobody does. So if you talk about it and listen, I've had buddies that I've known since I was 5 years old, so 45 years, who have read my book and said, holy shit, dude, you had some balls putting that stuff in there and being vulnerable. And I'm like, I did it because I wanted to set the example and hopefully impact you and be real of what I've gone through. And hopefully that gives you the courage to say, you know what, I can do it too.
Yeah, that, man, you told me the gambling story. And then you're writing, you had to come clean to your family and all that with all this stuff you wrote in your book, right? Before you, put it
Yeah.
out there to the world.
So I was on the precipice of bankruptcy. So I had to share that with my wife. And that was a very challenging time in our lives. Got through it. But then, yeah, last February, before it was released, I had to sit my boys, who were, gosh, what were they then? 16 and 14, down at the kitchen table and talk about it. And it was challenging for me to come clean. They both said, holy crap, Dad, like we had no idea. But it was also a powerful lesson to share with them. Like that, some kids that they know are on FanDuel and gambling and doing stuff. And I'm like, guys, those sites don't lose money. They're on every single sports game. So just know that if you fall in that pit and get lured in like I did, it's not a pleasant road. So, but being vulnerable and sharing real stuff with my guys has, I think, also increased my connection with them. They know Dad's real. They know Dad's going to tell them the good, bad, and sometimes the ugly, versus, my dad, we didn't really talk about that stuff growing up. Right. And that's even changing the family tree there, where we talk about real shit. And I know on my wife's side, like, I think her mom got sick or something and they didn't even tell her. They just kind of swept it under the rug and moved on, where she's like, holy crap, really? So being vulnerable, being open to, sharing the good, the bad, the ugly with your kids, that's going to help them learn and be adaptable and resilient in what they're going to face, because they're going to screw up and they're going to go through challenging times. So why not, when they're in those 18 years in your house, share some of those stories, share the journey with them, and be real and raw and vulnerable.
So yeah, I on an earlier an interview I did last year, I told this story about how, like, me and my best friend growing up, like, we had this idea that once you became a dad, you suddenly had all of this knowledge about everything. And you
Okay.
suddenly could change a tire and you could put up drywall and you knew how to do your finances. And then of course I became a dad and I was like, holy shit, my dad was just making this up the whole time. He had to be scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's got what I always tell, like, anytime, at the end of a podcast, or like, can you leave the listeners with something? I always say, most people have no idea what they're doing and they're doing pretty good. So it's okay that you don't know what you're doing, but if you try to learn, you're going to be ahead of most guys.
Oh, I would say yes, 99.999% of guys. And that's really why I wrote the Warrior Dad book, was not only share stories, but share the system with other dads. Because if you asked 100 dads, hey, how many books have you read to be a better dad versus how many books have you read to earn more money or be better at a job? 90, 95 will say, well, I've read books about being better career or better finances. Maybe 5 have read a book about being a better dad, where we got our guys, wake the fuck up. We got our priorities wrong. It should be 95 to be a better dad and 5 to provide and career and that stuff, because that's truly what, hey, if you chose to be a dad, that's your duty. Our kids didn't pick us. We got to lead and we got to be better from that perspective.
Awesome. I love that. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, go to your, the Warrior Dad, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, so they want to grab a time, go out to warriordad.com. They can book a time on my schedule. Just love talking. Hey, first call is just, hey, do I like Clay? And does Clay like me? Is there a fit? If there isn't, I'm going to tell you. If there is, I'm going to, share what that looks like. If you want to get the book, the Warrior Dad book is out on Amazon, so you can grab it there. It will be out on Audible, in the near future. And then on socials, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok are my major ones. I also drop a decent amount of content out on YouTube. So just search The Warrior Dad out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. I drop some daily videos in there and some longer videos from time to time. And that's where you can find me.
You're on TikTok?
I am.
Man, that is a landscape I want nothing to do with right now.
I know. I didn't want to, and you know what? I'm a creator. I'm not a consumer. So I create and put it on there. My boys laugh because it's on there, but I have been able to, build an audience and reach some dads and get them, the first free chapter of the book, and then they grab the book and they're changing their lives. So yes, social media is unfortunately a necessary evil to build, because that's where everybody's attention is. But I do it not to sensationalize or polarize. I do it to put out good content, positive content, and have an impact on others. So, yep.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go where the people who need your message are. That's just
100%
how it works.
Yep.
And like I said, I'm really looking forward to the audiobook. So I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. And so great conversation. I really appreciate you, hitting me back on Instagram and
you got
setting this up. All right.
Loved it.
All right, man. Like I said, really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you sometime soon.
Awesome, Clay. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.